Hello and welcome back to the On the Slab Horror Show, the show that we bring to you each and every Friday. I don't have my t-shirt tonight, so I can't read it off that. Lads, why do we do this on a Friday night?
Because Friday night is horror night.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And just before we go on, lads, I want to say a big shout out to the King who done the sick new intro video that's attached to the start of this. Top job from the King.
Badass.
He always produces, doesn't he?
The man's solid, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the boy. He's the boy.
Absolutely. Shame he couldn't be here to be on the first episode with it, but sure, these things happen. But tonight I am joined by the Dynamo. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. And what a debut for the intro as well, by the way. Because the show we're going to talk about tonight is pretty fucking.
Absolutely, and we're joined again by the alum Tombstone Ted.
How you doing, lads? This is a big one. This was a big one. Now we did a little
teaser for the
preview
trailer
for this when the trailer came out, and if you haven't seen that already, obviously go back and check it out, and you'll see we're not talking shit on here tonight. I predicted that, and like, there's no proof of it. Go and fucking watch it. Some of this shit that we predict. When I say I predicted this previously, there's fucking video proof there, lads. Go and watch it.
There is video evidence, lads. Let's be fair. Scream was the first big horror of the year in January.
Oh yeah.
This was the biggest name of the year. And it's definitely been the most widespread of the mark. Either you loved it or you hated it. There's very little in between, I found. But
like
tonight we are. Yeah, I fucking hate Marmite though.
Me too.
But tonight we are obviously discussing Halloween Ends. We do like to leave it a little bit longer than most people do because we don't want to spoil it for people, but there will be spoilers in this show. So if you got to this far, there are spoilers coming. If you haven't seen it, it's your own fault.
Get off your ass and watch it. Or sit on your ass and watch it. Whatever you want to do.
I'm pretty sure it's on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
But well, we might as well get into it. We won't do a major long episode on it because obviously some people didn't like it and might tune out, which isn't also acceptable. You listen to us all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. And do be sure to like and subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you disagree with us, that's absolutely fine. You're wrong, but it's absolutely fine.
You can send it to the complaints department.
Exactly, which no one will ever see.
Right, lads, what did we think? Ted, seeing as you're the returning guest, I'll let you start. Overall, how did you find it?
I enjoyed it. I went to see this with you and your worst half, Greg. Wait a minute, no.
Absolutely.
That's the other way around. You're the worst half, 100%.
Absolutely, I'm the worst half.
No, I went to see it with you two, and we bumped into a friend of the show, the upper tier, Niall and his boys. They were out watching it as well. I really enjoyed it.
It was a bit salty that we had an Eddie's and he didn't.
He was salty because his kids made him go to Burger King. Eddie's all the way, but regardless of food choices, film-wise, I really enjoyed it. We were discussing it when we were on the way back. When we were on the way home from it, and I was saying how much I really enjoyed the way they went with this, where they didn't because Myers is meant to be in his 70s. I didn't want to see this 70-year-old unstoppable dude anymore. Like I just wouldn't have bought it. A guy in his 70s is not going to be unstoppable anymore. So I loved the little twist of him getting a little fucking fanboy, a little groupie, and being like, come on in, I'll show you the fucking way, I'll show you the way. And then being like, you know what, fuck this dude. I'm fucking Mike Myers, I'm gonna fuck him up. And then he did. He was like, I'm gonna fuck everyone up, fuck this.
Absolutely. It was a good spin. Now I will say, for me, I got a little bit pissed off when I realised that they were making him the new Myers. But I was like, no, I says they can't do it. Won't do it.
If they'd kept him alive, I probably wouldn't have been too happy. But the fact that they paid it off, they were like, he's the new Myers, and then it was like, no, he's not. The original Myers isn't having that. It's his legacy, and he's gonna fucking end it here.
Dynamo, your thoughts?
Well, as you boys know, and as most of the fans know at this point, this is my franchise. So it's and we only spoke in text on this, so we didn't get to actually have a full conversation here. So this is real. This is Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart making up real. This is
off the cuff right here.
Off the cuff right here. Yeah, like I gotta say, you know, and I had some debates with some seasoned Halloween fans too, and legit seasoned Halloween fans that are as big a fan of the franchise as me. But I kind of went on the side of Ted as well. I thought this was actually quite genius. I did like the idea of him because there was that split moment where he looks straight into his eyes, and it's like that shift of power passed over. He's like, I'm giving you my fucking powers, whatever the powers may be.
Yeah.
I'm giving them to you for a while. But I kind of knew in the back of my mind that they're only on loan. You know what I mean? And it was really good. I thought the narrative was actually great, to be honest with you, because you had less Michael in it, which is great. It's like, you know, it's like a great movie like Jaws. You know, the less of the shark, the better. The less the better. And
less
even if it was a long movie, yeah, I just thought it was great. And so he was the antagonist and the protagonist all at the same time. This kid, and then when, you know, obviously him going around acting the bollocks, you know, Laurie knows that there's something up with this guy. You know, it's just her kind of grandmother's intuition, I suppose.
No, again, she says it's the eyes. She says she looked in his eyes.
It's the eyes.
Those eyes are dead. Those are Michael's eyes. She says it. She says those are his eyes. He's dead.
And that's the little Easter egg in there as well, because it's all the eyes. And I just thought it was genius, and it was so prevalent as well, in the sense that you can kind of see where she is coming from, but at the same time you can see where other people are coming from, because you're going, well, look, the kids are in love, give them a chance, blah blah blah, because that would be the narrative, the word on the street, so to speak. You know what I mean? But it's like, right, we know Laurie knows what's up, we can see it, but the people in and around the neighborhood can't see it. I thought it was actually geniusly written, and I'll be honest with you, I thought it was a perfect way to end the franchise. I wasn't upset. Doesn't mean I'm not going to give him a score, but obviously I did think it was a very, very, very good way of ending the franchise. And shout out to Ted as well, because he kind of put us all on especially me, he put me on the road of thinking from that trailer as well, where like there's definitely a curveball coming. And as Ted said, you can go back and watch the other episode, and then you can watch this one, and he can fucking put his hands up in absolute adulation, because he knocked it out of the park. Ted got taken out to the ball game, and he won the MVP on this one.
Yeah, it was so, because when we watched the trailer, I said, because obviously in the trailer they gave away quite a lot in the trailer, or so people thought of, you know. He saw him down in the tunnel, and I was like, yeah, he sees him down in the tunnel, but when he comes back up and he's like, oh, Michael's still here, and he's sitting on the steps, I said to you boys, I said, is that before or after he's seen Michael, and why is he telling them? Because I didn't trust that he was not going to be a complete innocent. You know what I mean? Like I had a feeling that he had to be in some way dodgy, because why would Michael have let him live if he did meet him down there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and, 100%.
Even from the start, like,
was I the only guy, by the way? Did you guys feel sorry for that poor homeless guy?
Yeah. It was very, again, that kind of went back to the 1990s It, where people getting dragged into the tunnel.
It really did. Yeah, I got that.
And I was like, I wonder, is that where that came from, or is it just a trope because of where he is? Like, it might be a little homage to that, maybe something different.
I think it's more just that he had to be somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And it had to be out of the way.
When you think of the lowest of the low, like
like where else can you put the guy?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
He's in the sewers. He's
what an opening though for the whole film. Do you know, when you see like this little fucking shithead kid just ruining this, like, and you know, like, don't get, like, obviously, you know, it's meant to be quite sad that the kid dies, but you're like, this little kid is terrorizing that guy.
What a fucking curveball that was.
Then the guy kind of, he just, like, he locks him into the fucking attic, and your man kicks the attic door down, and the kid falls off the stairs, and you're kind of like, oh, you feel bad for the guy, because you're like, that's, I don't think the door hits him.
I don't think the door hits him. I think he throws him.
Yeah,
because
there's a nice bit of context in bullying there, though, isn't there?
Yeah, but you don't see either way what happens. Is he?
Oh yeah, no, I know, but you hear the door, getting kicked open, and then it's like a couple of seconds later he falls.
Yeah, but you're meant to believe that like it's an accident. You know, that's the story that they're giving you, is that it's an accident. You're like,
that's what I mean. The context is like that. You know, it's meant to be a bully thing, but obviously.
Yeah, and you're like, that could have ruined this guy's life, like, you know, and it does, because he gets out of jail, and everyone thinks he's this child killer and that he did it on purpose and all this, that, and the other. And again, you meet the dad of the young kid who died later in the film, and he says it as well. He's like, I saw him on the street the other day and I wanted to, say sorry and that we forgive him and stuff. And I looked in his eyes and it wasn't him. Again, it was all just, looked in his eyes. He had those cold, dead eyes that Myers had.
I will say
it's all the people that have looked in his eyes that have gone, he's wrong.
Very, very Carpenter, isn't it? Very Carpenter, because they stuck to the whole idea of the shape. You know what I mean? That it's, there's nothing.
Rowan Castle obviously plays Corey in it, and he fucking stole the show.
Oh yeah,
I thought he was absolutely fantastic. You got a lot of hate on social media as well, which is absolutely crazy. You know what I mean?
Isn't that like if you were in a horror film and you're turned out to be the bad guy? Getting a lot of hate on social media is probably a good thing, that you've done something right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the problem is that he's getting hate
is good publicity, but when it's publicity on this type of film of that mainstream level, where it's the finale of, arguably
40 years on,
debatably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, horror franchise. Yeah,
I think the problem is that he got hate because people didn't like that the director went a certain way with this. They weren't like, oh, you were a really bad guy in the film. They were like, oh, you shouldn't have been the new Mike Myers. And it's like, well, like, honestly, guys, what did you expect? Like, people are sitting there complaining and they're like, we wanted the old school original way it was done. It's like, well, if they just remade that film, you'd have given out. You'd be like, oh, you just remade the first film. That's dumb.
That's a great point, Ted, because by the same token, and I know this to be fucking true, by the same token, if they'd have just got another trope,
they would have complained about that.
They would have complained saying, oh, well, this is just a modern version of the original. Well,
this is stupid. Why not do something new?
Yeah,
and
this was new.
You do something new, but also something not new. Because what was really good in this is that they took a lot of old speculations of, Myers was in love with her, and that's why he kind of consistently stalked on her. And then they went with the, Corey being in love with the granddaughter, and it's like, oh, see, the two of them are in love, and they were like, well, let's take that story that yous have been making up in your own mind and let's put it into the film. Here's a true part of it, and she can't, like, the granddaughter can't see the evilness in him, but it's there for everybody else to see, but she's blinded because she's in love. And then she eventually sees and she goes, oh shit, this guy's is fucking psycho.
The twist that he's trying to convince Andy to the granny's against him was brilliant. It's manipulation at its finest, but this one was a bit more manipulation through words, where Mike Myers manipulated people into doing things.
Yeah, like he got into their heads, like you know what I mean.
Obviously, Corey in this one has convinced her that her granny's is against her.
Yeah, and he even goes as far as, he's willing to die to convince Alison that Laurie is evil. Like, he was willing to let Laurie kill him just so that a granddaughter would hate a grandmother. That's how twisted he was in his mind. He didn't mind if he survived or not. He was happy to die for that.
I think he knew he was going out. Like, his dad gets killed off, and then obviously he comes out and he kills off the 3 or 4 at the junkyard, which was vicious.
Vicious, man. Like, this trilogy in its own right was very fucking vicious. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit, because I knew, can't really call it a heel turn, but I knew the turn was coming from the heel eventually with Michael Myers when he came in and he just snaps his neck. And basically basically just looks and takes his fucking powers back, so to speak.
What I liked was there was 2 heel turns, because he turns on Myers down in the sewers, going, "You're too old. You can't do it anymore.
Exactly.
I'm the new fucking guy." And then when he thinks he's the guy and he starts failing, Myers comes back and goes, "See, you're not the fucking guy. I'm the guy.
You were the kid, but you're not."
You know what? To me, that scene in when he goes in and takes the mask off him, everyone's like, "Oh, he shouldn't have been able to do that." I think he's allowed to do it.
Yep.
I think Myers lets him do it.
I mean, Myers is a 70-year-old dude.
No, but I think Myers lets him do it in order to gain. So it's very Freddy versus Jason, where he uses Jason to get fear back into people.
There's a possibility of that, but even if you want to go the route of he overpowered Myers. Myers is 70 years old. This is a young kid.
Or more.
This is a young kid in his 20s, you know what I mean? Why couldn't he overpower a 70-year-old? Because they'd already shown they were both equally brutal and, had no remorse. So why wouldn't he be able to do it? Absolutely. I do like the theory that there is that he let him have it. He was like, "Go on, let's see what you can do. Go on, take the mask and let's see if you can terrorize people the way I did.
You be the man." Another day kind of thing.
Yeah, he was like, let's see if my legacy can be continued. And then he realized, he was like, "No, it can't. It's time for me to fucking end this."
I'll tell you what, lads. The little homage to the original one, where he goes in and he kills the doctor and his little fuck buddy, where he pins her to the fucking wall.
Amazing.
Like they went. It was and it wasn't for me. So I love the fact that they done it. I just think he shouldn't have done it. Do you know what I mean? They're making out that he's old and he's weak to an extent. But yeah, he picks her up and drills her to the wall. And you're like,
I think the whole thing, though, just this is only my philosophy on it. I think the whole point of this is that he's slowly gaining strength back over the course of the movie. You know what I mean?
Kills are giving him strength.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I think because
that'd be a very good idea, yeah.
And he's past his kind of philosophy or his powers, whatever you want to call it, like whatever the darkness that is inside, the demon that's inside of Michael, he's passed it on to this kid now, and those kills are somehow making him stronger. And that's where I think it lends itself to Greg's point there, where he probably does allow him to take the mask and say, "Right, go on, keep going, not a bother." Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's only helping me and it's benefiting me. Because that's the thing, it's the shape, and the whole idea on John Carpenter's philosophy of the shape was that he's an entity. You know what I mean? He's a demon in human form, so to speak, or a human that's been taken over by a demon, but we don't know that. You know what I mean? It's not written. It's not in scripture. So yeah, it's you can see why people have their own takes on it, but I think we're all probably in agreement here, where like just each kill, I think, by either Michael or by the kid is just fucking absolutely making Michael stronger for that one moment.
For that the final scene with him
the finale,
and Laurie,
yeah, you know what I mean? It's like a great pro wrestling story, isn't it? You know, you have a year's worth of story built up just to get to that one moment, and that's
what did you think at the end of that? Like the way it finally does end, of like not the carrying his body away thing, but the final kills. What did you think? Because we all had our own predictions before on the previous episode for how it was going to be done. I said I thought Will Patton was going to be the one to put him down. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
They did not use Will Patton nearly enough in this.
No, they used him very sparingly, to be fair. But
which was a bit strange, considering it looked as if he was going to be the main guy.
It did, but I think possibly if you'd used him too much again, you would have been relying too much on the old story and not allowing something new to evolve, which is probably what they didn't want. So
yeah, true. I had said both of them go.
Yeah,
I'd say that was the out there theory that probably most people had. Was
kill each other.
She'll kill herself in the process of killing him, or she die killing him.
It was close to being that.
Yeah.
100%.
But like that whole putting her hand into the garbage disposal. Oh no, anything like that, fingers and things like no. I can watch a lot of gore, but when it's something that can actually like happen legitimately any day.
You. Yeah, yes. That's when it's
the same with me. Like I've always been like a big fucking, I don't know, maybe because I used to like have a pretty big fucking neck, and I used to think that's a target, and I hate, and Ted knows this, like I hate anyone touching my neck. It's just like, it's like, right, if you're touching my neck, then it's fists up kind of deal, you know what I mean? And you know, when you see someone getting fucking sliced with the neck, it's like an Interview with the Vampire is a great example. When you see the stats get the fucking, I'm just like, no, I can't watch that shit. So I get that. I really get that. Like, you know, when you just see something that can happen.
I think it's those things. I think it's those things that, you know, could feasibly happen to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the basic things. Yeah.
Like I get it that, you know, feasibly I could go out tomorrow and I could get shot. That feasibly could happen, right? But it's very, very unlikely. Yeah. However, it's less unlikely that when I go to like cut up some fucking food with a sharp knife that I end up cutting my finger off. So when you see something like that happening in a film, it's very, even if it's never happened to you, it's very close to home. You're like, fuck, that could happen to me. We stand on a nail or like anything like that. You're just like, oh, that could happen to me so easily. Like,
they were the ones we brought up on, especially on the X episode where he stands on the nail, and it actually shows you going in and you're like, what the fuck, Ty West?
Yeah, those are the things that, like, you know, not creep people out, but they're the ones that you feel like, they're the ones that send the shiver down your spine. Where some guy getting, you know, held up and like stabbed into a wall, and like the knife holds them on the wall, you're kind of like, it looks cool, but like that wouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Whereas other things, you're like, whoa, that could feasibly happen to me. Like,
I thought it was nearly like a ritual that she like slices his wrists open and then he slits his throat. I thought it was a little bit stupid to an extent.
I did. That's the only gripe I have with the movie, and this is where.
Well, look, and the whole town coming out and fucking like, there you go, parading his body.
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead of time here so that you guys have. I'm gonna give it only an 8. Well, I can't really do it. I'm gonna give it 3 slabs of meat, which is weird for me, even though I love the movie. There's 2 slabs taken away for this very reason. The whole town coming out, like, this is a murder, technically. You know what I mean? Regardless of how evil the man is, and this is what I'm basing it on, so it's only my opinion. Like, because it had potential for 4 to 5. It's just purely based on the fact that the cops are in on it, the whole town is in on it. I understand he's fucking, you know, he's absolutely wreaked havoc over the town and caused fear for over 40 years or whatever, but the fact that they all come out and then throw him in a blender, it's like, right, this is barbaric, no matter what way you look at it. And if it's if it's not, like, it's above the law, you know what I mean? It's like, shit, are we in Saudi Arabia now? What's going on? What the fuck? So that's my opinion.
The one thing I will say with that is I like that he kept the narrative from ends or from kills where he had the mob mentality in the hospital where everyone was in on it.
Yeah.
So it was probably a fitting way to do it. I don't agree with the ending of it the way it went. It was nearly like a ritual sacrifice. Okay, fine. You go with that. He's dead, and then you take him out and blend him or whatever. But the whole town to like fucking parade him as if he's won the World Cup or something.
Yeah. It was a little bit too much for me. I didn't like the message that was sent within it. Not, and I don't mean that on a political spectrum, like, oh, it's, you know, it's spreading hate or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but just more so with this one, I was like, the fact that the cops and all are involved in this, like, it's like, yeah, we've gone into business for ourselves here.
And they made a point of showing the sheriff.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I thought if they had kept maybe the law out of it, probably would have been a bit more right. It's vigilante. Maybe
take all the rest of the law out and leave Will Patton in, because obviously
he has a special bond. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was him. He could have stopped it all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I kind of tend to disagree with both of you on that. I actually quite liked the idea that the whole town was in on it, because this is, you know, you have to take it that the town, one, as Greg said, in Halloween Kills, we saw the mob mentality of them trying to kill him. So I liked that they continued with that the town needed to heal. But throughout the film, you see different parts of, like, people coming up to Laurie and being like, my sister's in a fucking wheelchair because he came back. He came back because of you. They all blamed her. And I like the idea. And, everyone in this town has grown up with this boogeyman. This boogeyman, that's real. That's come in, and for the last 40 years, he has terrorized the town. And he's, everyone in that town, because it's a small town, do you know what I mean? Everyone in that town has suffered a loss of either their brother, sister, mother, daughter, cousin, something. Everyone suffered some sort of loss. So when it came down to it, and they were like, right, we've been tricked before when we thought we had him killed. We left him in the middle of that street, and we thought he was dead. We burnt him down. He wasn't dead. We thought we'd killed this guy 100 times over, and it's never worked. We're making sure of it this time. No questions asked. No leaving this to chance. Get him in that wood chipper and chopped into a million fucking pieces, and get rid of this curse on our town. I like that the town's mob mentality was still there, where they were all like, do you know what? Let's all make sure of it. Everyone witnesses. We're all part of it. And then this is the end. Nobody brings him up again, because we all know that we're involved in, something quite brutal at the end of the day. The man's already dead, but you're putting a body into a fucking wood chipper. They all have to accept that they've taken part in that, so none of them can take the moral high ground now and be like, well, I think yous are all actually monsters because yous did this. No, we're all monsters. We were all turned into monsters by that one monster. And then a second monster who's already been killed by the original monster. I like that they were
double bluff was there.
They were all forced to accept that no matter what happened in their town, they'd all been affected by him. And now they were all going to bear this one monstrous act. All of them were going to bear it between them. And they all did it. And that would be it. Their future, their families would be safe in the future. There'd be no more of this, because nobody could come out and say, I wasn't involved in that shit, and I think the people deserve to die, and I'm going to kill all these other people because they chopped up that body in the wood chipper. I think it's a good ending to that.
I think overall David Gordon Green done a good job on the trilogy. I know he's getting a lot of hate. I really enjoyed the trilogy. For me, I'd always been to the point I loved the first one, never liked any of the rest of them really. And then obviously Ted there pushed 18 on me till I eventually broke and watched it, and then fell in love with it. The trilogy and the original was perfect. For me, I'd say 3.5. At a push, I'd say 4.
I'm going to change my score to 4 because of Ted. You see, this is diplomacy, people.
Yeah, I'd say at most it'll get a 4 from me.
4.
Yeah, I'd only go as far as 4, because I do think there was certain things that would stop it being an all-time classic.
We also didn't need the Top Gun moment where they're driving around on the bike for 4 hours.
Yeah, we didn't need that, and part of what
unless you're a lover of 80s cheese like me, then
no, but I do like that. But I think there was 2 love stories running throughout the whole film, which I kind of was like, yeah, I get it, but I would have been happy for it not to have a love story between Laurie and Will Patton.
Will the Trill Patton?
Yeah, I didn't really need that, what they've known each other for 40 odd years, and they've only realized now that they are attracted to each other. I guess it could happen, but I would have liked if they'd just continued to be friends. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe the hidden narrative was the fact that they were always gonna. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of with you actually. I'm not actually gonna try and.
Well, I mean, she's a teenager when he's a police officer in the original one as well. So I wouldn't say they always were in love. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of didn't. I didn't love that part of it, which kind of knocked it down for me. But it wasn't overly used in the film, so it doesn't reduce the film too much for me. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what then, lads? We'll leave it there. I think we've broken enough down. I will say before we go on, Ian, you brought up on a previous show that we done with Mike Bones from Slasher Radio. We got the end of Michael, but in an episode coming up, we're gonna have the rise of the newest slasher on the block in Art the Clown.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a very fitting one that they came out very similar timing. Now, obviously, Damien Leone and David Thornton Howard couldn't have known the way this was going to end. but to run it simultaneously with it has just bred a new slasher into the game when one is gone.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, Michael will come back in another reboot somewhere along the way.
No, but what the point that you're making is very, very valid and prevalent.
Yeah.
We see the death of a classic, and now we've seen the birth of a new, something old, something new, something from a Jurassic period. You know what I mean? As Iron Maiden.
we don't need another Jurassic Park. The last one was terrible.
The Jurassic period, I said. And now we've got Art the Clown, who basically, I agree, he's absolutely
he's the new dog.
He's the new dog in town. So it's exciting times.
You can check that one out on a future upcoming episode. No doubt the King will want to be involved in that one, as he's been preaching art for a long time now.
Oh yeah, he loves his fucking clowns, and anyone that knows me knows I'm fucking terrified from legit. I fucking.
We'll leave it there for the evening, lads. It's been great to have you on. It's been great to get back to it. It's great to actually finally get the review done for this. I know a few people have been asking me about it. So overall, for the three of us here, we're going four slabs.
Yeah, 4. I think.
Yeah, I think 4 is fair. And just one thing before we leave, do be sure to follow us all on our social media. Of course, Greg runs the Instagram. We're on the Slab on Instagram, very, very reachable. I run the Twitter, so it's @on the Slab Horror as well. So do reach out to us and let us know what you think of the show. If you have any suggestions, if you'd like to be on the show, any feedback is good, whether it be bad or good. We know what bots are out there, so I'll know straight away if you're a cant. But
in the words of the great Carl Urban.
Yeah, exactly.
That man's no longer going to be able to take a role without saying cunt in it, just like Samuel L. won't do it without saying motherfucker.
And I will implore people. I always used to do this. You remember this, Greg and Ted? I used to always recommend things to people at the end to watch. That's something a little bit different. If you have the time, go and watch Preacher on Prime. It is very, very good. If you have the time, buy the comic books, because it's the best comic book ever written. The homage that Greg made there was to Carl Urban from The Boys. The Boys was also written from the same writer of The Boys, which is from Preacher, Garth Ennis, a good old Irishman, in my opinion, probably one of the best, if not the best, writer in comic book history. He's the one that brought you the dark side of the likes of the Punisher and Daredevil.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for the week. Go and check out Preacher on Prime, and then do yourself a favor and go read the books, because the books are absolutely phenomenal. Over and out.
Well, what we'll do is I'll sign this off the same way I sign off every Friday night. In the words of the great George A. Romero, ladies and gentlemen, stay scared.
And always look under the bed.